Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt that despite everything you give, everything you do, you're still not respected the way you deserve? Maybe you feel like your voice is ignored, your boundaries are crossed, or you're constantly trying to please others without getting the same energy in return. If that's the case, you're not alone. Many women have lost themselves in the pursuit of acceptance. They've learned to adapt, to fit in, to be good, accommodating, proper, but in doing so, they've forgotten the most important thing: their essence, their strength, their inner confidence. Carl Jung, the renowned psychiatrist and deep thinker of the human soul, spoke about a powerful concept: individuation. For Jung, individuation is the process of becoming who you truly are, not who others expect you to be. And in that process lies the key to becoming a confident, admired, and above all, respected woman. Because respect isn't demanded, it radiates. And you can only radiate it when you know your worth, when you're connected to your inner truth, and when you stop asking for permission to be yourself. Being a confident woman doesn't mean being arrogant, aggressive, or closed off. It means being clear. It means knowing what you want, what you won't tolerate, and what you deserve. It means walking firmly, even when you have doubts inside. It means standing tall in the middle of chaos and saying, "Here I am, and I'm not going to fall apart." But to get there, you have to do some deep work. And that's the journey we're going to take together today. Today, you're going to discover the keys to building real confidence, the kind that doesn't depend on your looks, or what others think, or how much you're approved or rejected. We're going to talk about the kind of confidence that comes from within, the kind no one can take away from you, the kind that commands respect without raising your voice, that transforms your energy, your gaze, your voice. And if you're here, it's not by accident. You're here because some part of you is tired of feeling small. You're tired of having to explain why you matter. You're ready to live from a different place. This video isn't just a reflection, it's a call, an invitation to awaken that woman who already lives inside you, but who's been asleep, silenced, repressed for far too long. It's time to set her free. I want you to stay until the end, because what you're going to hear could change the way you see yourself, the way you talk to yourself, and the way you relate to the world. We're going to go step by step, not with empty speeches, but with practical tools, transformative ideas, and deep truths. And if at any point something I say resonates with you, if you feel a kind of echo inside, stop for a moment and let it sink in, because that's your soul reminding you who you are. Don't forget to subscribe so you can keep receiving content that uplifts and transforms. This space is for you, for your awakening, for your inner freedom. To start building real confidence, we need to break one of the biggest lies many women have come to believe: that confidence depends on what happens outside, that if someone validates you, approves of you, or chooses you, then you'll feel worthy. But that's a dangerous trap. Carl Jung said, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." And that's exactly where transformation begins. When you stop living in hopes that someone will tell you you're enough, when you stop chasing love, attention, or respect like prizes you have to earn. Because respect isn't something you ask for, it's something you build from within. The first step in building that inner foundation is awareness. Knowing who you are, what drives you, what hurts you, what inspires you. When was the last time you sat in silence with yourself? No distractions, no social media, no outside responsibilities, just to listen. We stay so busy being everything to everyone that we forget to be something for ourselves. A confident woman gives herself permission to listen to herself. She doesn't need applause to know her worth. She's learned how to hold herself up on dark days and how to shine without apology on bright ones. But that doesn't happen with pretty words. It happens with choices. And one of the most powerful choices you can make is to set boundaries. Yes, boundaries. You're not selfish for saying no. You're not a bad person for walking away from what hurts you. You're not cold for cutting ties with what drains you. You're wise, you're mature. You're aware of your worth. A woman without boundaries is like a house without doors. Anyone can come in, anyone can stay, and anyone can damage what's inside. But when you know your worth, you start filtering who has access to you, not out of arrogance, but out of self-love. Carl Jung also spoke about the shadow. That's the part of you that you hide, that you deny, that you don't want to see. Often insecurity is born from that unacknowledged shadow, from repressed emotions, unhealed wounds, words that scarred you, and that you still believe in silence. Accepting your shadow doesn't weaken you. It sets you free. Because when you embrace it, you stop fearing yourself. You stop performing for others and start being you. And that is magnetic. A woman who knows herself, who accepts herself, who respects herself, commands respect. Her presence speaks before her words. Her energy communicates confidence without needing to raise her voice. Do you know why so many people feel uneasy around a confident woman? Because she can't be manipulated, doesn't need to please, and isn't afraid to be alone. And in a world that teaches you to need others, that's revolutionary. If this message strikes a chord in you, share it. There might be another woman out there who needs to hear exactly this today. You have no idea how powerful your decision to share light can be. Now let's talk about a fundamental element, coherence. Nothing undermines your confidence more than living in contradiction with yourself. Saying one thing and doing another, promising yourself you won't tolerate something, then giving in out of fear of loss. Incoherence silently erodes your self-esteem. Every time you betray your values to please someone else, you break a little inside. Every time you say yes when you meant no, you disconnect from yourself a little more. Confidence is born when your thoughts, your words, and your actions align. When you can look in the mirror and feel proud of the woman you've chosen to be, even if not everyone gets it, even if you're criticized, even if it hurts. Carl Jung taught us that true growth comes from inner conflict, not from comfort. Transformation doesn't happen when everything is calm. It happens when you dare to look your contradictions in the eye and choose differently. A confident woman isn't perfect, but she is self-aware. And from that awareness, she acts with resolve. She doesn't negotiate her principles. She doesn't silence her voice out of fear of making others uncomfortable. She doesn't beg for love in places where all she finds is rejection. The respect you project out into the world is a reflection of the respect you have for yourself, and that's built through small, daily actions. You don't need grand gestures to assert yourself. Sometimes it's enough to hold a steady gaze, to stay silent when what you hear is offensive, or to walk away with dignity when reciprocity is no longer there. The women who leave the greatest impact aren't always the loudest. They're the ones whose presence is felt, whose energy needs no explanation, whose clarity sets boundaries without raising a voice. And that, whether people say it out loud or not, is deeply respected. Don't forget something essential. You can't control how the world sees you, but you can choose how you see yourself. And when you change the way you see yourself, the world begins to respond differently. People start treating you with more respect. Your relationships shift. Your environment reorders itself because you have changed inside. And if someone can't handle your new confidence, that's not your problem. It's their discomfort. You weren't born to dim your light just so others feel at ease. You were born to shine. Now be honest with yourself. How many times have you silenced your truth for fear of rejection? How many times have you adapted yourself just to avoid losing someone? How many times have you endured the unbearable just to avoid being alone? It's time to change that story. This is your moment, your awakening, your inner revolution. And if you've made it this far, it's no coincidence. It's because deep inside you, there is a powerful woman ready to take her place. One of the most profound truths Carl Jung left us is this: what you don't make conscious shows up in your life as fate. Do you know what that means? It means that if you don't recognize your patterns, if you don't stop to examine the wounds you carry, you'll keep repeating the same stories with different faces, different jobs, different relationships. And the most painful part, you'll believe the world is against you when in reality, you're the one unconsciously following the same script. A confident woman dares to look within, to identify where her need for approval comes from, to understand why setting boundaries is so hard, to explore why rejection hurts so much, because she knows that only when she names her wounds can she begin to heal them. Maybe as a little girl, you learned that your worth depended on how well you behaved, that if you were good, obedient, quiet, you'd be loved more. Maybe you were raised to take care of everyone but yourself, to avoid making waves, to not demand, to not speak up. But you're not that little girl anymore. Today you have the power to rewrite your story. And that story doesn't begin when someone else finally sees you. It begins when you choose to see yourself through new eyes. When you realize you don't have to prove anything to be worthy. You don't need to look perfect, to have everything under control, or to go above and beyond to be valued. When you discover that your dignity is non-negotiable, that your voice has weight, that your soul deserves to be respected, that's when a quiet but powerful transformation begins. Your energy changes. Your body language becomes stronger. Your words grow clearer. You no longer ask for permission to exist. You stop competing with other women because you understand that true confidence doesn't come from comparison. It comes from self-knowledge. A confident woman doesn't need to prove anything. Her very presence reflects the inner work she's done. That's why you must surround yourself with people who uplift you, not those who drain you. People who respect your boundaries, who value your authenticity, who don't want to change or mold you. And if you don't find them right away, that's okay. It's better to walk alone for a while than to be surrounded by connections that dim your light. And yes, some people will distance themselves. Others will feel uneasy about your change. But don't stop. Don't apologize for healing. Don't apologize for growing. Don't apologize for becoming the woman you were always meant to be, but had forgotten. Your soul did not come into this world to be submissive to pain. It came to awaken in strength, awareness, and light. Share this message if you feel another woman needs to hear it. You never know who you might inspire with a single decision. A confident woman knows her time is valuable. She doesn't waste energy trying to convince those who refuse to see her worth. She doesn't chase after people, opportunities, or situations that rob her of peace, because she understands that what truly matters will never make her feel small, never ask her to betray herself, never require her to dim her light. And yes, there will be moments of doubt, moments of exhaustion, moments of overwhelming emotion, but she knows how to return to her center because she's learned to know herself. And that is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, self-knowledge. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about reconnecting with who you already are. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And though it may sound simple, it's a deep, challenging, and utterly liberating journey. On that path, you'll shed many masks. The mask of the strong woman who never cries, the accommodating woman who puts up with everything, the perfect woman who tries to control it all. None of those masks define you. They're just survival strategies you develop to protect yourself, to feel accepted. But you don't need to survive anymore. Now you're ready to live. Live with authenticity, with presence, with conviction, without fear of what others think, without anxiety about being liked, without the need to hide your truth for fear of abandonment. Because you know the most important person who must stay with you is you. A confident woman doesn't beg for love on her knees. She doesn't plead for attention. She doesn't negotiate her dignity. She loves from a place of wholeness, not from lack. She gives of herself from freedom, not from emptiness. And if a relationship doesn't honor her essence, she walks away without guilt. That kind of confidence isn't taught in schools. It's cultivated in the soul, strengthened in silence, affirmed through boundaries, and upheld by the decisions you make every single day. And here comes an uncomfortable truth. There will be moments when you'll have to disappoint others in order not to disappoint yourself. And that's okay. You're not here to meet other people's expectations. You're here to honor your purpose, your truth, your essence. And when you do that, when you walk with certainty, even when the ground trembles, the universe responds. New people show up, unexpected doors open, and you begin to attract what once seemed out of reach. Not because you're more valuable now, but because you're finally vibrating from your truth. That's the key. It's not about learning how to be confident. It's about remembering that you already are. You just forgot somewhere along the way, in trying so hard to fit in, to listen to all the outside voices, to carry fears that weren't even yours. But today, you're waking up. Share this message if you feel it could touch someone else's heart. A word spoken from the soul can plant hope where it once seemed there was none. Now that you've understood the power of knowing yourself, respecting yourself, and holding yourself up, it's time to talk about something just as crucial: your inner dialogue. Many times it's not the world that crushes you, it's your own voice, your own judgments, your constant comparisons. That internal voice repeating what others once said about you, questioning every step you take, making you doubt whether you're enough. And here is one of the most powerful truths you can hear. Respect begins with how you speak to yourself. If you treat yourself harshly, the world will notice. If you minimize yourself, others will too. If you don't believe in your own worth, you'll attract relationships that ignore it. That voice living inside you can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy, and you get to choose which one will govern your life. Every time you say to yourself, I can't, change it to, I'm learning. Every time you think, I'm not enough, tell yourself, I'm growing. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about training your mind to see possibilities where you used to only see limits. Carl Jung said, what you deny submits you. What you accept transforms you. So don't fight your story. Don't reject your wounds. Don't blame yourself for what you did when you didn't yet know what you know now. Everything you've lived has brought you here. And now you're ready to write a new chapter. This new chapter has a different protagonist, a woman who no longer asks permission to feel, who no longer apologizes for having ambition, who no longer hesitates to create distance when someone else's energy weighs her down. A woman who stopped idealizing others' approval because she's begun to approve of herself, who no longer freezes in the face of judgment because she knows she doesn't need validation to exist. And no, that doesn't make you less sensitive. It makes you freer. Freedom isn't about shouting that nothing matters. It's about being able to choose from love, not from dependence, to decide with awareness, not with fear, to act from your center, not from your wounds. That kind of freedom is what commands respect, not through what you say, but through what you project, through the peace you carry when you walk into a room, through the steadiness with which you say no, through the calm with which you leave when you're no longer wanted there. Remember this, a confident woman is not the one who never doubts. She's the one who keeps going even when she does, who dares even when she's afraid, who stands back up with more strength after she's fallen. And that kind of woman earns respect. If something in this message stirred something inside you, if a single phrase made you pause and breathe a little deeper, it's because there's a part of you that already knows she deserves more. Don't ignore it. Listen to it. That voice is the guide you've been waiting for. There's something you need to be very clear about. Being a confident and respected woman doesn't mean everyone's going to applaud you. In fact, the more authentic you become, the more you'll make others uncomfortable. Because your freedom challenges the chains they're still afraid to let go of. Don't expect universal understanding. You don't need it. A confident woman has learned to walk forward with her head held high, even when the criticism pours down, because she knows that other people's judgments don't define her worth. Carl Jung explained that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves. So if someone rejects you for standing firm, if they call you difficult for not giving in, if they say you're too much because you don't fit their mold, then so be it. You're not here to please, you're here to be whole. A whole woman isn't someone who has everything figured out. She's someone who's chosen to stop breaking herself into pieces just to be liked. She's someone who has integrated her sweetness and her strength, her sensitivity and her courage, her light and her shadow. And that in itself is revolutionary. Along your path, you'll notice how many people who once sought you out begin to drift away, not because you've changed for the worse, but because you're no longer available in the same way. You no longer bend like you used to. You no longer give endlessly. You no longer accept crumbs disguised as affection. And yes, that has a cost, but it also has an enormous reward. You begin to attract people who vibrate on your same frequency, who respect you without needing to control you, who value you for who you are, not for what you do for them, who don't want to rescue you or tame you, but walk beside you. True respect isn't born from fear, it comes from recognition, and you can only be recognized when you dare to be seen as you truly are. That takes courage, but that courage is already in you. It's always been there. You just need to remember it. A confident woman doesn't need to shout her worth. Her energy says it all. Her posture, her gaze, her decision to walk away when something hurts, her ability to be alone if necessary, rather than stay somewhere without reciprocity. And that kind of confidence isn't something that appears all at once. It's built, it's chosen, it's reinforced day after day, in every decision, in every boundary, in every act of self-love. So don't compare yourself to anyone. Don't measure yourself by someone else's standards. Your journey is unique, your path is sacred, and every step you take toward your truth deserves to be honored. If this message touched your soul, consider sharing it. There might be another woman on the edge of her own awakening who needs to hear exactly these words. There comes a point on the path when everything begins to change, when you realize that you don't need to be understood by everyone, only to be true to yourself. That moment, though quiet, marks a before and after, because you stop living from fear and begin living from truth. You no longer seek approval, you seek connection. You no longer fear disappointing others, you fear betraying yourself. And that's where a different kind of strength is born. Not a loud strength, but one that's felt in the soul. One that allows you to walk into a room and feel no need to fit in, because you know your value doesn't depend on conforming. Carl Jung spoke of the importance of integrating what we've repressed. And many women have repressed their power for fear of being too much, their voice for fear of rejection, their authenticity for fear of not being accepted. But that repression comes at a high cost. It disconnects you from yourself. That's why the path to confidence begins with honesty. You cannot be respected if you're not authentic. You cannot inspire if you don't show up. You cannot be truly loved if you only present an edited version of yourself. Being yourself takes courage, but it's the kind of courage most worth having. And it's not about exposing yourself to everyone or sharing your whole life out loud. It's about not hiding your essence, about not disguising yourself to be liked, about not silencing what matters to you. Because every time you hide, you fragment, and a fragmented woman cannot feel whole. Respect begins the moment you choose your truth, even if it means walking part of the path alone. And if you think about it, solitude can also be a gift. It's in that space that you hear yourself clearly, where you reconnect with your intuition, where you discover your true voice, the voice that doesn't shout but guides, the voice that doesn't judge but corrects, the voice that doesn't beg but affirms. That voice is the one you must learn to follow, because it always knows. Maybe you don't have all the answers today. Maybe you're still afraid. Maybe you wonder if being yourself will be enough. And the answer is yes. It has always been yes. Only no one ever told you. Only you forgot. And if you're here, if you're still listening to these words, it's because something inside you is awakening. It's because a part of you is tired of pretending, tired of shrinking, tired of living halfway. It's because you've decided you deserve more. And you do. So walk forward with steady steps. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove anything. Just keep moving, faithful to yourself, aligned with your soul, at peace with your wounds. Share this if you feel it could spark something in another woman who has not yet dared to shine. Now that we've come this far, it's time to talk about a quiet but transformative quality: emotional stability. A confident woman is not one who never breaks, but one who learns how to hold herself even in the middle of the storm. That stability doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't depend on whether things are going well, or if the relationship is thriving, or if the job is perfect. It comes from inner grounding, from a root you've planted deep within yourself. Carl Jung said that we do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And that's where true stability is found, in your ability to look at what makes you uncomfortable without running away, to feel what hurts without judging it, to hold what breaks you without giving up. The confident woman doesn't deny her vulnerability, she embraces it, because she understands that vulnerability is not weakness, it's humanity. And when she can hold her emotion without collapsing, when she stops repressing what she feels just to appear proper, she becomes free. Free from emotional bondage, free from the need for approval, free from the urge to control everything. That inner freedom becomes outer strength, and that strength is impossible to ignore. That woman doesn't seek to impose herself. She doesn't need to shout to defend herself. Her very presence commands respect because there's alignment between what she feels, what she thinks, and what she expresses. True respect isn't demanded. It's cultivated. It's sown with every act of self-love. It's strengthened every time you choose peace over drama, dignity over dependence, silence over useless conflict. And here's another key: calm. A confident woman doesn't react. She responds. She doesn't attack. She communicates. She doesn't explode. She expresses. Because she's learned that immediate reaction often comes from the wound, not from wisdom. But this isn't something you master overnight. It's a process. It takes practice, patience, and a lot of compassion for yourself. And through that process, you'll discover that your greatest power doesn't lie in changing others, but in deciding who you are, regardless of how others behave. That's where your freedom lives. That's where your respect begins. And when you live from that place, you inspire without even trying. Not because of what you say, but because of who you are. You become a mirror for other women, a quiet beacon, an example that it's possible to live with strong roots and an open heart. So if you ever doubt, if you feel like you're slipping backward, or that you still have far to go, breathe deeply and remember, every step you take toward yourself is a victory. Don't underestimate the power of your process. Don't diminish the value of your growth. Don't overlook how far you've already come just because you're not yet where you want to be. You're walking, and that is what matters most. We've reached the end of this journey, but what begins now is far greater. Your reconnection with the woman you truly are. Today you've remembered that confidence is not a distant goal, it's a daily choice. It's not about eliminating fear, but about walking in spite of it. It's not about becoming someone else, but about returning to your center, to that part of you that has always been there, waiting for you to look at her with love and give her space to grow. Jung taught us that the soul needs depth, not perfection. And that's exactly what you're cultivating now. A depth that sustains you, a truth that gives you direction, an energy that needs no justification. Because the confident, respected woman is not some ideal archetype. She's real. She's imperfect. She's human. And she is you when you dare to be her. Now it's possible that after this video, your environment may start to shift, that your decisions may cause discomfort, that you may feel alone in this awakening. But don't stop. Don't question yourself. All of that is part of the process. It's a sign that you're stepping out of the old patterns that used to limit you. From this moment forward, every time you feel yourself falter, come back to yourself. Breathe. Remember your worth. Say to yourself, I deserve a full life, reciprocal relationships, and spaces where I don't have to shrink to belong. And if at any point you doubt your path, come back and listen to these words again, because they weren't said by chance. They're a reflection of the truth that already lives within you. Trust, you are not alone. Millions of women around the world are awakening. They are healing. They are breaking chains that have lasted generations. And you are part of that change. Your inner work is also a collective act. Every step you take toward your freedom, your authenticity, affects those around you, even if you can't see it. So keep going, with doubt, but keep going, with fear, but keep going, with wounds, but keep going. Because every step you take toward yourself is an act of love, and love, when it's true, always becomes respect. If this video inspired you, consider sharing it with another woman. Maybe she also needs to awaken. Maybe these words will be the spark that ignites her strength. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. This space is created for women like you, women who have decided to stop merely surviving and start living with power, with purpose, and with truth. Thank you for making it this far. Thank you for choosing yourself. Thank you for being part of this awakening. Yeah,